After years of speculation and months of the park teasing us, Kennywood has finally revealed what Project 412 really is. Most of us thought it would just be a roller coaster, but it's actually a whole new themed area of the park. Steeler Country, themed to the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, and the star attraction in this area is the new roller coaster that was so heavily speculated over the past few months. Now it has a name, Steel Curtain. Steel Curtain is the phrase that was used to describe the Steelers' defensive line in the 70s, so it fits for the area. This roller coaster is going to be manufactured by S&S, same company that manufactured Merlin's Mayhem at Dutch Wonderland, also owned by Palace Entertainment, as well as some really impressive-looking air-launched coasters over in China. But this coaster is not going to be a launched coaster. It does have a lift hill. But before we jump in and go over the analysis and just look at the POV, I thought I should mention that this ride is breaking 3 records, and they are consistently larger in scale. The first is a Pennsylvania record. At a height of 220 feet, this coaster will be the tallest coaster in Pennsylvania, breaking Skyrush at Hershey Park's record of exactly 200. On a more continental record, this will be the roller coaster with the most inversions in North America. And on a worldwide record, the tallest inversion on Steel Curtain, which is at 197 feet, will be the tallest inversion on the planet. A very impressive record for such a small park as Kennywood. Lastly, before we begin with the POV, this ride will also feature a very rare element called a banana roll. At the time of this recording, the only way you can experience the banana roll is on Takabisha at Fuji-Q Highland, which also held the world record for the steepest drop. That ride is soon to be cloned at the Nickelodeon Universe, opening soon in New Jersey. So pretty soon, you will be able to experience 2 banana rolls in the United States. As you ascend the first lift hill and approach the 220-foot mark, it's interesting to note the support structure of this ride. The supports seem to go backwards from the lift. It's really weird. But as you pass through those, you soon reach the 220-foot mark and crest the top. After you go through the drop, you go through the next 2 inversions. But before that, the main drop is sort of reminiscent of Drakenfire at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Does anyone remember that failed roller coaster that Aerodynamics built? Incredibly rough, but it had a really unusual drop. And this is reminiscent of that as you go through a sort of a corkscrew or a zero-G roll through the drop. I don't really know the technical term for this. Soon after are the next 2 inversions. And after that, you go through a small airtime hill, which reminds me of the first airtime hill on Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point after the main drop, which that holds the world record for the world's fastest airtime hill. After you go through that airtime hill, you get 2 back-to-back twisting inversions, definitely going to disorient some people. Now comes the interesting part, because everybody was remembering those footers that people were taking pictures of and posting online that were in the lagoon next to Sky Coaster. Well, here we get to see where those come into play as the coaster goes over the midway and does a sort of dive loop and then back over the midway. So you'll be able to go over the midway twice, and people will be able to walk under the coaster tracks and look up. So since the 2 crossings are, one is where you're right side up and the other is inverted. I'd like to think that if it weren't so high up, people could actually high five as they passed overhead. That'd be kind of interesting, but I could see how that would be a safety hazard. Something interesting I noticed, though, is since this is just a rendering, it's impossible to see where all the park's current landmarks and attractions will fit in, but it's obvious to tell, based on where the sort of dive loop takes place, that the bridge crossing the lagoon is going to be right there, which raises the question, will the bridge have to be demolished or rebuilt or moved back a little bit? I have a lot of questions regarding this element and how that's going to work, but it's definitely going to bring some more color to the area. After you fly over the midway, you get an airtime hill and 1 final 0-G roll. After this, which seems to be the last element, you actually get what I believe to be the final inversion, which doesn't completely invert, but it actually looks like a cutback, which is an element found on Skyrocket in the same park, where it's a turn so sharp that it inverts you, but you don't actually continue on the inversion. So this would be interesting. A cutback is already a rare enough version as it is, but to have 2 in the same park, that's a weird record that only Kennywood can claim. After this, you hit the brake run. Which raises another question. What will capacity on the ride be like if there is only 1 brake run in the ride? There is no mid-course brake run, so how will that come into play? Will the people loading in the station have to wait until the train completes its circuit before the next train can be dispatched? If so, then capacity might be a nightmare. Also, how many trains will they run? With the train design in mind, we have to also consider what will the trains look like. When they revealed the ride, Nick Paradise and the rest of Kennywood said that the train design had not been finalized, which begs the question, what will the restraints be like? Are we looking at over-the-shoulder restraints or just lap bars? Personally, I'm leaning more towards over-the-shoulder restraints, just given the nature of the ride with 9 inversions, but we'll have to wait and see. But I know there are a lot of people out there who are clamoring for lap bars only, but I thought it was impressive enough when Skyrocket was able to pull that off. And now, I think we should address the elephant in the room, Steeler Country. There's been a lot of backlash about this. It's interesting because as far as the coaster design itself goes, people seem to be uniformly positive about it. They seem to love the design. But the theme is what's getting the most complaints, which in the grand scheme of things, I guess is a great thing. Something as simple as a theme can be changed easily, and it really doesn't play into the overall coaster experience that much. It doesn't look like there's going to be any theming during the ride, aside from the color of the track. So some people don't like the Steeler theme, but come on, Kennywood's in Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh people love the Steelers. So given the GP, I think this is a great idea. As for coaster enthusiasts, I think we'll be able to put up with it. It's, like I said, it doesn't actually take place like during the ride, and it doesn't impact anything during those inversions, so there's really no reason to get super upset as far as the coaster goes. But in terms of the new themed area, Steeler Country, this is going to polarize a lot of people. It's interesting, no doubt, and it features a lot of new things. There's something called the Steelers Experience, which has games and looks like a climbing tower with a slide in it. There's also a new restaurant with indoor and outdoor seating, which I'm all for. Kennywood definitely needs some more indoor restaurants. And I'm also excited to see what new food options this brings to Kennywood, because they have a lot of food options already. This will only add to their lineup. I also just love the environment of sports bars, even though I don't really care much for sports in general. I love the environment with all the TVs up. You can watch games and socialize, so that should be a fun environment to bring to Kennywood. One other thing to address is the pavilions that currently sit where Steeler Country is going are said to be repurposed and relocated. One of those is the original pavilion that used to sit over the Whip. So this begs the question, will Whip get its pavilion back? Well, we'll have to wait and see. And of course, this is an extremely impressive coaster, but will it beat Phantom for Kennywood's best roller coaster? I don't know yet, but Phantom will always be nostalgic for people like me and those who grew up with Kennywood. But one thing Phantom will have over Steel Curtain is that Phantom uses the terrain and Steel Curtain does not. As we can see, footers have already begun being poured. This looks like an amazing coaster and something Kennywood desperately needed, though. Track is said to be showing up soon, and I'm very happy to see another ride show up to Kennywood that is black and gold. It's been far too long since Pitfall was torn down, so we definitely need something in those colors to fill the void. Overall, this coaster is looking absolutely amazing, with a theme that may polarize a lot of people, but as far as the coaster experience, I couldn't be happier. So, be sure to let me know what you think of Steel Curtain in the comments, and let me know if there are any other thoughts and impressions that I may have neglected to mention in this. I'm still kind of flustered earlier. I did that live stream earlier, and that was a lot of fun. Some of you watching this may have actually been with me during the live stream, and I'd like to apologize for the technological glitches that I had to deal with during that. That was my first live stream, so it was bound to happen. But anyway, let me know what you think of Steel Curtain, and I look forward to seeing you all again and hearing your thoughts whenever I go see Thomastown in a couple of weeks. That should be interesting. It's due to open very, very soon, about a week or so. So I'm going to go there soon after it opens and get some footage for you all. So expect to see that soonish. I'm not going to go there on opening day because it's going to be crazy. I'm going to go a few days afterwards. Anyway, let me all know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.